Oh, hey, so you're our new graphic designer. Okay, well that's great because we need some new graphics for our social media. Oh, and we also need to update all of the icons on our website. Oh, can you also create an animated explainer video for us too? Oh, and we're gonna need you to refresh our entire brand identity too. Oh, and can you also create some new illustrations for our app onboarding? Actually, we're gonna need you to optimize the user experience for that entire app. Oh, and one last thing. My wife is looking to redecorate our living room, and you're a designer, so you can help me out with that too, right? Okay, let's clear something up. Not every designer can do everything. Like, would you ask your dentist to perform a heart transplant on you? I mean, they're technically also a doctor, right? Just like there are many different types of medical professionals, it's probably a good idea to know the different types of designers so you can find the best person for the job. Let's say you're looking to find creative talent for a new project, or maybe you're hiring someone for a new design role, or you're putting together a design brief for an upcoming project. Do you know the difference between a graphic designer and an illustrator? UX and UI designer? Well, if you don't, then by the end of this video, you definitely will. And I'll make sure that you don't end up looking like Ralph. Ralph is that guy with the scarf and glasses from the beginning of this video. Okay, Ralph is me wearing the scarf and glasses. The design world is constantly evolving, and unless you're a designer yourself, it can be tough to keep up with all the different types of creative roles out there. It's important to know that not every designer can do everything, and different designers have different specialties and skill sets, just like marketers, developers, and so on. Most professionals specialize in a certain area of their craft. At Superside, we have hundreds of full-time designers on the team specializing in nearly every type of design. So if you don't know where to start, you could always work with Superside, where you'll get a dedicated project manager who will pair you up with the right designers for the job. But if you do want to learn more yourself, which I assume you do because you're still here, please stay. Keep watching for an overview of the 11 most popular types of designers and their core areas of expertise. Graphic designer. They may also be called a multimedia designer or a visual designer. They do many types of design work, from creating social media ads, banners, and graphics to packaging design, infographics, and much more. They generally use the Adobe suite, including Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign, as well as the Affinity suite. So what does a graphic designer do? Graphic designers are responsible for creating designs for marketing and advertising materials. It's a bit of a broad title for an often broad position. People in these roles can design for a wide range of platforms and often create visual content for both print and digital formats. Animation designer. They're also known as an animator or a 2D or 3D animator. They animate all types of designs, from animated videos to commercials, video games, and films. Depending on whether they're doing 2D or 3D work, they may be using Photoshop and After Effects, or Cinema 4D, Maya, and Blender. They could also be using game engines like Unity and Unreal Engine. So what does an animation designer do? Animation designers, or animators, create moving images that tell stories or provide information. Most animators specialize in either hand drawing, designing 2D or 3D characters, or creating computer-generated images. Think about a Wicked explainer video using cartoon-like characters to tell a story, or video game-like 3D characters moving around in space. You've got animators to thank for that. Motion graphics designer. They may also be called a motion designer or a motion graphics artist. They generally animate more commercial works like social media graphics, digital ads, infographics, logos, and explainer videos. They mainly use Adobe After Effects, Animate, and Premiere Pro, as well as Cinema 4D and sometimes Final Cut Pro. So, what does a motion graphic designer do? A motion graphic designer is kind of a mix between a graphic designer and an animator. They can create animated designs for a variety of media formats, from videos and PowerPoint presentations to digital ads and GIFs. GIFs? GIFs? Guys, seriously, when are we gonna give up this war? Is it GIF or GIF? GIF. UX designer. They might also be called a UI/UX designer. You'll find them creating prototypes, user personas, user flows, wireframes, and doing user testing. They commonly use UI design and prototyping tools like Sketch, Figma, Adobe XD, and InVision. What does a UX designer do? UX designers help conceptualize and optimize a user's experience with your product or company. UX designers make products and technology usable, enjoyable, and accessible for humans. And like sometimes animals and stuff, and maybe aliens. I don't really know what goes on in like those government labs and stuff. They definitely have UX designers, and they're not designing for humans over there for sure. UI designer. Wait, didn't we just do this? Oh, no, that was UX designer. Gotcha. Well, here's a little secret, guys. UI designer, UX designer, two different things, two different people. Let's find out what the UI designer does. A UI designer may also be called an interface designer, visual designer, or interaction designer. You'll find them doing customer analysis, design research, branding and graphic development, user guides and storylines, UI prototyping, and adding interactivity and animation. Like the UX designers, they're also using Sketch, Figma, Adobe XD, and InVision to design user interfaces. UI designers or user interface designers conceptualize and optimize all of the visual elements that a user would interact with, such as buttons, icons, typography, spacing, color schemes, and responsiveness. UI designers can be found in a few different departments such as product and marketing. See, told you. UI, UX, two different things. Don't mix them up ever again, otherwise you're out. Yeah, you're out of design. Just pack up your bags. Web designer. Another common title is front-end designer. They design websites and landing pages. They commonly use both UI design tools and web design tools like Webflow, WordPress, and Squarespace. So what does a web designer do? Well, apparently they do in fact design websites. Who would have thought? Web designers are responsible for the overall look and feel of a website or a web page. Their goal is to combine the visual elements like the layout, color, fonts, icons, and buttons in a functional and aesthetically pleasing way. Web designers are not to be confused with web developers, or spiders. Though there are times when a web designer does have a background in front-end development, but they don't weave webs and trap their prey then eat them viciously. There may also be times when a web designer uses a no-code tool like Webflow to design and develop a website at the exact same time. Magic. Product designer. Another common title might be digital product designer or visual designer. You can find them creating journey maps, wireframes, and prototypes. Similar to UI and UX designers, product designers also use UI design and prototyping software. So what does a product designer do? Well, product designers use different design tools to create a solution to a user's problem. They're literally designing a product to accomplish a goal. While the visual appeal of the product is an important factor, they're more concerned with figuring out how people actually use the product. Sometimes this role may be called a UX or UI designer, depending on the company, but I'm gonna stick with product designer, because that's what I told you it was called at the beginning of this section. Brand designer. They may also be called a creative or visual designer. They're the ones designing the logo, style guides, social media design guidelines, and sometimes product packaging. They generally use graphic design software like the Adobe Suite or the Affinity Suite. So what does a brand designer do? Brand designers define and create a company's visual language. They use elements like typography, illustrations, colors, photography, logos, and icons to help organizations establish and maintain a clear and concise brand voice. They ensure that the tone and personality is unified across the digital, physical, and metaphysical platforms. Creative director. They may also be called a creative manager. They're in charge of creative team management, strategic decision-making, and overseeing creative development. You'll often find them in between creative tools and project management software. So what is a creative director? Well, here's a photo of our creative director at Superside. A creative director is typically the head of the creative team. They have the final say on what goes to the client or upper management. and they make the important managerial and creative direction decisions. They're skilled design team leaders with excellent project management skills. It's important to note that any type of designer can become a creative director. Whether you're proficient in motion design or you're an illustrator, it's more about the design leadership skills and expertise that make for a good creative director. And if you want to become a creative director or a better creative director, or you're not a creative director but you want to become a better design leader, we do have a video on the 5 traits of highly effective design leaders that you can check out and become a better creative leader yourself. Art director. You'll find art directors doing the idea generation, design selection, and layout creation. Like creative directors, they're generally in between creative tools and project management software. So, what exactly does an art director do? I often wonder the same thing. Art directors are responsible for defining a design project's overall look and managing the creative process on a more day-to-day level, such as overseeing budgets, leading artists, and selecting designs. Like creative directors, they tend to have excellent leadership skills and vast project management experience. Illustrator. Another common title for them is artist. You'll find them creating illustrations for packaging designs, website images, social media ads, blog posts, and pretty much anything else that requires custom illustrations. They use graphic design software like the Adobe or Affinity Suite, as well as Procreate on an iPad. So what does an illustrator do? Illustrators create designs and images for various companies and industries, from children's books to advertising things that are actually dangerous for children. While some illustrators use more traditional techniques like painting or sketching, others use digital illustrations and editing software for their work. Sometimes illustrators will become animators or have some animation skills, especially if they're interested in seeing their designs move. They're also most likely to have an Apple Pencil in their hand. It's important to note that there are even more types of designers than the ones I just mentioned. These just happen to be the most popular roles in companies today. And, well, I didn't really want to make this video excruciatingly long. This is pretty long for the internet these days. For example, besides the business and marketing related roles like product packaging designers, there are also roles like interior designers or industrial designers. And how could we forget about the DesignOps managers, those folks who help keep the design teams running smoothly. Many people think that design is synonymous with visual content and making things look pretty. While that is true, and that is a major priority for many of these design fields that I brought up, design is also much more than that. Designers can be decorators and architects, creating products and experiences that are as effective and efficient as they are delightful and beautiful. So now that you have a better idea of the different designers and the skills that they possess, it'll be a lot easier for you to find the specific talent that you need for your next project. You could find every type of designer I just mentioned and more at Superside. We have hundreds of full-time designers on the team specializing in nearly all types of design. And now that you know a little bit more about the different designers, you can work directly with a dedicated project manager to find the perfect designers for your next design project. Go to the link in the description or head over to superside.com to learn more. And subscribe to our channel for more videos on how you can scale your design capabilities and become a more effective design leader.